So perpendicular, are they on the same plane? Yes. And do they intersect? Yes, they have to intersect and form 90. So which ones would be that? PQ and RN, yeah. PQ. So remember it says, think of each segment as part of a line. That's why we're naming it like a line. So we got PQ, and then NR is correct. They intersect with RQ, and they form 90 degrees. All right, now we want the line that is parallel, lines, that is parallel to QR. We got, which one? NP. NP. And then what is another? LM. Are there any others? Is JK parallel to QR? No. Remember that parallel, do they have to be on the same plane? Yes. And are these two on the same plane? They are not. All right, and then skew to QR. So skew to QR. Before we start listing the bunch of answers, skew, are they going to be on the same plane? Yeah, so non-coplanar. And then do they intersect? And don't intersect. So what would be helpful is to figure out what part of the box QR is a part of. So what parts of the box is QR a side? This side over here, the right side, and then the bottom. So we can't name any of those segments because they're on the same plane as QR. So give me an example of what is skew to QR. JN is one of them. Yep. And then you said KL. I agree. KL. What is another? KP, correct. KP in the back there. And then KJ. Good. None of the other ones would be skew because they're all on the same plane as RQ. The last thing we want to do is name a plane that is parallel to LMQ. What part of the box is LMQ? The right side. So we want to name the parallel side, which would be? Yes, but before I even name it, what do I have to write? Plane. There are many people that still don't write plane to name a plane. But plane, and then you said what, JKP? Or JPN, or any combination of 3 letters from that left side of the box. Okay? The second section, before we even begin it, go ahead and draw off to the side. I'm just going to refresh your memory about which angles are going to be the same measure. So off the side, just draw a transversal. You could take one highlighter. Well, actually, before we do that, let's name our angles A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Sorry that I had to sing it. I don't know why. So let's start with A. Go ahead and highlight A, one color. Bless you. All right, what angle is vertical to A? D. Okay, so they're the same measure. So A and D. So remember that in these, you can cut and paste your information from the top intersection to the bottom intersection. So that means A is in the same place as E, so they're going to be the same measure. D is in the same place as H, so they will also be the same measure. Then you could take your second color and just fill in the remaining 4, as they will be the same measure as well. When it comes to measures, we have 2 options. Either our angles will be congruent, and option 2, they will be supplementary. So let's go through the easier one first. Which relationships are supplementary? I'm just saying, we learned 6 relationships, right? Consecutive what? Interior. So go ahead and write that down. Consecutive interior are supplementary. What is another relationship that is supplementary? Linear pair. Are there any others that are supplementary? No. 2 are supplementary, the rest of them are congruent. So which ones are congruent? Corresponding. An example of corresponding in our picture was A and E. They're in the same place. They are the same measure. What is another that will be congruent? Alternate exterior and interior, if you want to just write them both down. So what's an example of alternate exterior? We can start with that one. Which letters? A and H are alternate exterior, A and H. And then what's an example of alternate interior? C and what? F, or D and E. Good. There is one last relationship that will be congruent. Vertical angles. Okay, so I have to clear my screen to be able to even use it, but you have it on your paper to reference. So starting from the beginning, number 5, does 35 degrees and X, do they have a relationship? Yes, supplementary is their measurement, but they are a linear pair, which means that they are supplementary. So then how would I find X? Subtract from 180. So 180 minus, 35 means that X is 145. What relationship does 35 have with Y? They're corresponding. What do you know about the measure of corresponding angles? They're congruent. So Y is 35. Y is 35. And if you question life and you're not so sure, you can always go through and highlight. These two across from each other are going to be the same measure. This angle and this angle will also be the same measure. So if you notice, X was not highlighted with 35. That's because it is not congruent to 35. Number 6, which of these has a relationship with 48? Well, technically both of them. Just pick one of them. 5x minus 17. What relationship do they have? They're alternate interior, which means that they are congruent. So what am I going to do with 5x minus 17? Set it equal to 48. Add 17. We added 17. What is 48 plus 17? It is 65. And then divide by 5. 13. And then what relationship does 48 have with angle Y? They are consecutive interior. Which means that they are supplementary. So to find Y, we have to do 180 minus 48, which is 132. Number 7, name a relationship that one of these angles have with 58. Which of these do we want to start with? We know 2y. What relationship do they have? They're corresponding. And we know the measure of corresponding angles is that they are congruent. So 2y equals 58. Divided by 2. Y equals 29.
Miss Marshall.
So these two are next to each other. They are a linear pair, which means that they are congruent or supplementary. Supplementary. So that means 2x plus 58 equals 180. Subtract 58. 2x equals 122. Divide by 2. X equals 61. Alright, this next one, we got 116. Which of these has a relationship with 116? The alternate exterior, right? So the 6x plus 32, that is alternate exterior. We're not talking about the quiz right now, we're trying to answer these questions. Alternate exterior, are they congruent or supplementary? Congruent. So what am I going to do with 6x plus 32? We will set it equal to 116. Subtract 32. 6x equals 84. Divide by 6, and x equals 14. Alright, so we want to decide if 5y minus 21 will be congruent or supplementary to 116. It will be supplementary. Because if you went through and you highlighted, those two would be congruent. All of the ones I highlighted in orange would be the same measure, but 5y is attached to this corner angle. It is not going to be congruent to 116. Because remember that this angle is 116 degrees. So we can add 5y minus 21 plus 116, and they will make 180 degrees. So we're going to do 5y minus 21, so this angle, plus 116, which is this angle, and they equal 180 degrees. So we can combine like terms. What is minus 21 plus 116? What is it? 95 equals 180. Subtract 95. 5y equals 85. Divide by 5. And y is 17. Yeah. Good. Whenever you're ready, you can turn the page. Alright, so in number 9, find the value of x that makes m parallel to n. What relationship do these two angles have? They're consecutive interior. And again, what do we know about consecutive interior angles? They're supplementary. So then to find x, we do 180 minus 73, which is 107. Which we actually need to pause. Go and put 107, and then we have a few more things to review. So at the top, I would just use the big blank section above. This is from 3.3, which we learned about the properties that prove that lines are parallel. There are 4 of them. We'll take note about them. 4 properties that prove parallel lines. 4 properties that prove parallel lines. You could look at my example over here so that we can kind of think through them. Maybe I'll just bring it down. So that we can think through them and why they work and why they don't work. So let's say we were trying to prove A parallel to B. and that these angles were marked congruent. What relationship do these two angles have? Vertical angles. Are vertical angles supposed to be congruent? Yes, they are. But is there enough information on A and B to prove they're parallel? So vertical angles do not prove that lines are parallel. What if these two were marked congruent? What relationship do these two have? Alternate exterior. Are they supposed to be congruent? Yes. So alternate exterior angles, is that enough to prove that A and B are parallel? Yes. So the first property is that alternate exterior angles are congruent. Alright, let's go through some others. We can talk about alternate interior while we're here. So, are alternate interior angles supposed to be congruent? Yes. So, is there enough information at line A and line B to show that they are parallel? Yes. So, the second one would be alternate interior angles are congruent. Alright, what other relationships are there? What if these two, they would not be congruent? What if this one was 100 and this one was 80? Is this enough to prove that A and B are congruent? Yeah, or are parallel? No. There's only information at A. These are a linear pair and they're supposed to be supplementary. But we have no information about that bottom intersection. So it's not enough. What about if this angle were 100 and this angle were 80? So what relationship do these two angles have? They're corresponding. Are they supposed to be supplementary? No. No. They're in the same spot, right? So what if they were congruent? Are they supposed to be congruent? Yes. Is this enough information at line A and line B to show that the lines are parallel? Yes. So the third one is corresponding angles are congruent. And then there is one more. What if these two angles are congruent? What relationship do they have? Consecutive interior. Are they supposed to be congruent? No. What should they be? Supplementary. So they should add to 180. Is this enough information at both of the lines to prove they're parallel? Yes. So consecutive interior are supplementary. That is enough to prove the lines are parallel. And I'll show you why. So all four of these are enough because if this angle is 80, across from it is 80. Next to it would be 100, and across from that would be 100. If this angle were 100, next to it would be 80, across from it would be 100, and then this would be 80. Do all of the relationships work? Are my corresponding angles congruent? Yes. Are my alternate exterior congruent? Yes. Are my alternate interior congruent? Yes. So all the relationships that show that lines are parallel, they would work. So that's why these four in particular prove that lines are parallel. We'll do one more question together for today. It is number 10. What relationship do these two angles have? They're alternate exterior, which means that they are congruent. So that means x plus 14 equals 147. Subtract 14, 133. 133.